Greetings, YouTube. I'm currently reading a book that deals with biotechnology, and it deals with farm animals. Yes, the title of this video is not spelled incorrectly. I mean farm animals as in farm animals that produce pharmaceuticals or human transplantable organs because they have been genetically modified. Now, humans have been genetically modifying animals for a while now. My favorite example are the spider goats. And the spider goats are the best possible reason for you to rush out right now and get a copy of the After the Bomb 2nd edition. It is the single coolest mutant animal in all post-apocalyptic games ever published, and I stand by that statement. But farm animals are a little more interesting. I mean, spider goats are cool in the fact that their milk contains spider silk, and hopefully someday going to make spider silk a commercially viable material, much the way carbon fiber is now. But farm animals are potentially much more useful because they're going to produce chemicals that we need to help treat illnesses and cure diseases, and could make available cheap organs which will not be rejected by human beings. Essentially an endless supply of them, because for the most part they're being grown inside pigs, and no one really cares if you kill a pig to get its organs out. So that got me thinking. It's the year 2013. Let's jump ahead 40 years. It's 2053. What would be available? Now you're going to have all kinds of animals which are going to produce chemicals which would have to be extracted using some kind of medical procedure. Something even if it's just as simple as a blood removal, or possibly taking some serum out of one of their organs. But some of the animals will produce these chemicals in something as simple as milk. So goats could be used, and your goats could be producing milk, which would have the supplement that you need. And because the goats have been genetically modified, the goats themselves simply produce this stuff for you. They breed, it comes out of their milk, and you milk them and then process it as you would ordinary goat's milk. And it has specific properties that it was bred for. Could be fighting some kind of malnutrition, could be going after a particular disease that's endemic to the country where the goat's been sold or hijacked and stolen and bred slyly by the black market. Things like that. Things like, for example, fighting Chagas disease, or going after treating some of the more virulent viruses out there, or maybe new ones that I haven't even popped up yet. Then, of course, you have the Xenotransplantation animals, such as the pigs I mentioned. Now, imagine future animals that are one step better. Instead of having a heart, what if the pig in question has 4? I mean, pigs can get big. They can be in the 1,000 to 2,000 pound range. They can be big animals. So you've built one that's big enough to have 4 hearts and 4 livers and 8 kidneys, and you see where I'm going here. And it's incredibly robust and redundant because it's got all these things in it that works and functions and it uses, but gives it even a tougher constitution than your average Klingon. So all of these could play a part in a science fiction game. But what happens if you're running a post-apocalyptic game? Now, your game may take place at a point where this is a robust technology, say somewhere between 2050 and, say, the early 22nd century. Or it could take place farther in the future where these animals have become old tech, but they're still around. Maybe they're being used in some last vestiges of the third world, for example, that don't have the technology of true regeneration, which is the cutting-edge technology right before the world ends. But when all that great high-tech stuff stops working, the farm animals will keep right on breeding, making available all kinds of things that are very valuable, even more valuable in a future where medical technology could very well be dirt primitive. Also, what happens to those animals if they mutate slightly? Now, they already got multiple organs. They're probably been genetically engineered to heal slightly faster. They may have a shortened lifespan, the old concept that the candle that burns twice as bright burns half as long. But they could be really tough in combat. You keep hitting them and they don't die because, great, you shot one of its hearts. It's got 3 more. Oh, you stabbed it in the spleen. Haha, it's got 2 extras. So, maybe they're immune to criticals if your system has criticals or something like that. Simply because you can't damage enough of the system all in one single blow to take the animal out. And these are all ideas that you could play with, and you can mix and match these things. What happens, for example, if you're running a science fiction game and you find a planet that is in a state of post-apocalyptic in the sense that it was an alien planet run by a race of intelligent alien beings, truly sapient beings, but they had their own apocalypse and it collapsed. Yet what's left are their farm animals, some of which have gone feral, possibly mutated, and are really, really dangerous to the party. They weren't intended to be these nearly unstoppable killing machines, but they've become these nearly unstoppable killing machines because they had a huge advantage evolutionarily when their world ended. When you're that tough, isn't it hard to very quickly become the apex survivor on your world? And even if an animal is an omnivore, when you're that tough, it isn't hard to become the apex predator with the right kinds of evolutionary pressure. So these are just ideas I've thrown out here. I haven't come up with anything specific. These are just some things I was thinking about at work last night while I was being really bored and making parts. Of course, my boss probably wouldn't be thrilled to hear that. So I want to hear from my viewers. If you were going to have farm animals, ones that produce pharmaceuticals of one variety or other, or animals that produce extraneous organs for xenotransplantation, what would you do? How would they differ from the current animals that we have in the world? How much would they be along the lines of things that we're already designing? Or can you think of something that's a next generation that hasn't occurred to me? And what would happen if these animals go feral or mutate in a post-apocalyptic setting? Where do these ideas lead us?